this is causal inference in statistics, right there. And we are on the very final question of the entire book, Chapter 4, dealing with counterfactuals. And again, Chapter 4 kind of lays out kind of a couple major uses of counterfactuals. One of those was kind of in the first part of the chapter, where we deal with attribution, and this latter part has been dealing with mediation. So here is the question with some edits to it. So everything that is indented or bolded is my editing here. So we are going to apply the formulas provided in this section to the discrimination case discussed in section 4.4. And here is the little blurb from the example in section 4.4. And if you go back in the playlist, you will see that we actually did, we looked at this example here. Okay. Well, yeah. So we have that. Now we're supposed to determine the extent to which ABC International, some business, practiced discrimination. But there is no XYZ. There is ABC International, or I'm sorry, there is no ABC International. There is only XYZ International. Okay. Further, the book continues to insist, whenever it's referring to this question, that it was based on discriminating against women, but the prompt itself is about sexual orientation. So somewhere they switched the problem around or something, and forgot to make all of the edits somewhere. So that can add a little bit of cognitive load. That it's a little bit irritating, but not too bad. And so we're supposed to determine from that example the extent to which there was discrimination being practiced. Okay. And we're supposed to use tables 4.6 and 4.7, which I've reproduced here. All right. So what we are supposed to figure out is, how much discrimination is taking place against women, or depending on which version you like, against gay people. And in order to do that, we need to know a few things. We need to know the total effect, and the natural direct effect, and the natural indirect effect. And these are all things that we've already discussed, and particularly in depth in this question right here, mediation example with binary variables. It turns out that when we did that example, a very long example that spanned 3 videos, we used exactly this data, but for a different example. And in that example, we had a different story. We had yet a different story where we had a treatment, sometimes called X, sometimes called T. So sorry for the cognitive load of having to keep track of all the different names for everything. Is imposing. It's just how the book panned out. But we had some treatment here called X, otherwise called T, that affected the outcome Y. But in the mediation example, it was exam score, via some mediator, M or H, in this case H, for homework. But now we're flipping it around, or we're changing these terms, where X is either the sexual orientation or the gender of the applicant. Y is whether or not they were hired, and H, or the mediator, M, is their qualifications. Okay, it's just this DAG with all of those things, replaced. Okay, so sorry for all that. But all that to say, we already have all of the components, because we already solved for them in that mediation example with binary variables. We already solved for all of the necessary terms. So this is a very short answer if we already did all the work. So, you can go back to those videos and watch or look at the Colab sheet and see, how we derived each of these values. Okay? And so now we just need to determine what this implies about disparity, and I'm calling it D here, due to sexual orientation versus qualification of the applicants. Okay. So let me start with this bottom one here. So the disparity due to qualification of the applicants. Well, this is the way that we conceived of this was that the qualifications were the mediator for the sex or sexual orientation of the applicant. Okay, so it has to do with the NIE, the natural indirect effect. Okay, so the extent to which the natural indirect effect is affecting the total effect, whether or not they're hired, is NIE divided by TE, natural indirect effect divided by total effect. And that is the extent to which the disparity between males and females or gay and straight applicants is just simply due to a difference in their qualifications, according to the numbers provided here. And how much of it then is due to the fact that they are either female or gay? Well, so this has to do with the natural direct effect. Okay, so the natural direct effect is the natural direct effect of being male or straight, and so we divide that by the total effect. Well, but if we want the extent to which the other group is being disparaged, we need 1 minus that quantity. Okay, and so we get, we do the math, basic arithmetic, and we get 0.3. So in other words, kind of what's happening here is there is apparently a difference in who gets hired at this firm between either males and females or gay and straight employees. Now that and so the question is that disparity because it just so happens that of their applicant pool, the male or straight employees just have higher qualifications, or is it because there is some kind of discrimination taking place against females or gay applicants? And according to this example, it says, well, yes, some of it is because of the difference in qualifications, but most of it, roughly 3 times as much, is due to actual discrimination. Okay. So I guess that is good, and that is the conclusion of all of these questions for this book. So take care.